All right, well, let's move into the games that we've played, and we're going to start with The Battle at Kemble's Cascade.
Yeah, it's designed by Anders Tyrland and Olle Tyrland. Artist was Philippe Guérin and Chris Quilliams, and the publisher was E-Man.
Okay, so if you've, obviously listened to the previous, or not previous, but some of the earlier episodes we've done, we talked about our NES games and stuff like that.
Right.
I mentioned, at least, I don't remember if you put any on there, one of my favorite types of games on retro consoles is the side-scrolling shooters, like Gradius and Life Force, and this is pretty much that in a box as a board game. We won't go into too much detail of the rules, but essentially you lay out you have these little trays that you put out. Each tray holds maybe 4 or 5 cards.
Right.
And these cards make up like a space background. You put like 4 or 5 trays in a row, and then you basically start on one end of it. And as you side scroll, you move the tray off the table and put it in the back of the row. So they kind of shuffle in and out.
They cascade.
There you go. I never thought about that at all. I always thought the name was really weird, but then again, I hadn't read the story in the book.
I thought that I wasn't sure if it had something to do with the story, but I thought maybe they were calling it that for the way it does kind of scroll. And
yeah, it does kind of cascade. You're right. That's cool. Well, anyway, the game, I mean, you got a spaceship. You can buy upgrades just like you could in any of those console games, different missiles and things like that. And on your turn, you've got so many move points essentially and so many attacks. And you move around and you shoot guys. You shoot in a straight line. And as you're a weaker ship, you actually have to spend, was it energy to move or to shift, like to point up or down or left or right.
Right.
Otherwise, you can upgrade your turret basically to fire in any direction for free. There's a little bit of PvP in the game where you can shoot each other and you get like a PvP marker on you. And if that player dies, then the other people get points essentially.
Right.
Otherwise, you play the game, you build a deck, essentially the space deck. And as you reveal new cascaded trays, you put new cards on there and eventually you're going to run out. But at the very end is the boss, which I'm just going to immediately say is the coolest part about the game.
Definitely. Because
the boss comes out and he's like multiple cards and it's usually just like the face and like arms of something, just like you would encounter one of those massive bosses on a side-scrolling game, space game.
Right.
Oh man, it is so to the T.
Yes. And then the next part moves and then you see the rest of them because he's 2 tiers.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I think 3 of the 4 bosses are like that, where they have 2 basically trays worth of stuff. Yeah, so they get bigger as they come out.
Yeah, that's not it. That first row is not it.
Yeah. So, Matt, overall, what did you think of the gameplay, though?
The gameplay was fun. It as far as the PvP you mentioned, I was kind of you. Anytime there's PvP, you worry, but it wasn't too detrimental if it happened because you could move and remove the threat off of you, and I can't remember exactly how that was working, but it almost seemed like if you got shot by them, it wasn't a big deal because it didn't do damage to you directly. It put a threat on you, and you had to remove it by moving.
Yeah,
does that sound right?
Yeah, because every time you move, you reduce your threat.
Yes. And
when you rest, you actually have to take the damage of your threat or whatever.
Right.
So you kind of, and that pretty much, it basically mimics you moving around. So as you're moving, you're dodging shots and things like that. So it's not like you're trying to move just to like shake off damage or whatever.
Right.
It's essentially bullets are flying everywhere. And as you move faster and faster, essentially more times during your turn, you're dodging more and more things.
Yes.
And so, yeah, you can drop threat that way. Yeah. Yeah, the gameplay was fine for me. I think the PvP, I feel like if you play this a few times and if you play with somebody who's really focused on PvP, they can kind of get annoying.
That would be awful, actually, I think.
Yeah, especially if you team up with somebody and then both of you go after somebody. Because I'm pretty sure it's 5 players at the most. But, man, I mean, that would be so upsetting.
Yeah, I mean, we were doing it, but it was most of the time it was like, well, you're here already, I'm shooting.
Yeah, I'm shooting you with a missile. I'm taking splash damage.
I'm not going crazy with my extra moves and shoots to try and do damage to you. It's kind of like, you're here. If you die, I get extra points anyway, so I'll go ahead and shoot you while I'm looking at you.
Right. It's kind of like, I'm going to mark you anyway because you're probably going to die. So why not? I'll just mark you so I get some free points out of it. I don't think anybody was being malicious about it or being very aggressive with the PvP, but I feel like it does have the potential to do that. And it really just depends on who you're playing with. Yeah,
I think everything was pretty nice about the game. You had your achievements. I think some of the starting achievements were kind of bleh. Like, I know Eric's was awful.
Oh, your personal missions.
Yeah, your personal missions. But
they did have achievements out in the middle. It's like once you do, once you take so much threat, you can claim this.
Right, and that was kind of neat because that was up for grabs for everybody. The bidding to, I guess, for turn order, was fun to do because I think you had like 2 or 3 cards and you put one down and.
Yeah. And what's weird about it is I feel like weren't the cards didn't have like a small little icon of like your color, but we really weren't giving those out. We were just drawing from a deck. We only played this one time, so maybe we've done something wrong with it.
Should we have had personal decks? Is what you're saying?
I feel like it does have that, but in the rules it just says shuffle that whole deck. I don't know. Maybe I should look that up.
If there was ever going to be a problem that I did have, because you could get lucky and just constantly go first. There is that. So if you did have personal decks, that would alleviate that.
True, but going first isn't always the greatest.
It's not always the greatest, and it's not like it's a huge advantage either. But it could get you a jump to get an achievement or something, or maybe kill something first to get.
That's true.
Balonium. I will say that.
I forgot about that.
Balonium was kind of ridiculous. That was their monetary system in the game, but
yeah.
You said it just to laugh. I wish they would have picked a different name. But
speaking of names, what do you think of the name of the game? Now, whether or not it's related to some kind of storyline behind it, whatever, but the battle at Kemble's Cascade.
I think it's really interesting. It makes you wonder what's going on. I think it grabs you enough to be like, what is this?
Yeah, I heard this and I actually thought it was quite unique in comparison to a lot of games out there. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those games that you don't ever hear it in that sense of the flow,
because it could have been Battlestar ships or
side-scrolling action shooter.
Yeah, something to that effect. So it could have been something really cheesy, and they went with a pretty solid name.
Yeah,
I feel good choice on the name.
Yeah, even if it was just called Kemble's Cascade, I feel like, which I mean, I guess that's what the game is kind of called. The battle of is or battle at. Sorry,
right? It's
like small print, so it's kind of like just like a a beginning to the net title. Right. But the whole title is the battle at Kemble's Cascade. Man, I've called it Crusade 1,000 times. I need to stop. Anyway, yeah, I mean, fantastic game. I don't know how well it's going to like have as far as replayability, like to play it multiple times, but man, it is super unique.
Yeah. I worry if there's like with ship upgrades, eventually you'll probably find the most optimal. Sometimes you're at the mercy of how much balonium you're getting, but what you think about the different guns? The guns were kind of cool. So you had your laser that shot in a straight line, or the one that would hit and explode. So I mean, you got options on how you want to fire, I guess.
Yeah, you do. Like, you're right. Some of them had splash damage. Some of them had the like the laser gun, like you're talking, could go straight and it hits everything and never stops.
Right.
Whereas other weapons actually stop the first thing they hit.
Yeah.
And so I thought they were pretty cool. And honestly, it just depends on, you could buy a couple of those weapons, but then the boss comes out and he's immune to 2 of them.
That was the only downfall to it, because you don't know what boss is coming. And yes, you're right. You could have loaded up with guns that aren't going to even touch this dude. No, I don't know. We haven't seen all the bosses. Maybe they only have one thing. Maybe
the guy we played, because he was immune to all 4 of them.
Was he? Okay.
And not the whole boss.
In certain spots, yes. Certain parts of them.
Yeah, because he has multiple cards, and that's actually kind of a neat way to deal with the issue of, well, when you kill somebody, because we didn't say that when you put the space cards out, they actually have printed enemies on them, and then they have a small deck of cards that's just blank space tiles. So when you kill those enemies, you cover them up. So I mean, I guess the game can be a little fiddly that way, but with how unique the game is and the cool nostalgia feeling of it, I feel like it's totally worth it.
They rock it on theme.
Oh yeah,
you feel like you're playing an arcade game or an old 8-bit or whatever.
They
rocked it out. So
amazingly enough, we played it 4 players. What would you think about it as a 2-player game? I mean, that would eliminate some of the PvP elements.
You would probably have zero PvP. I don't think it would really change the game a whole lot. You might have more trouble with the amount of enemies, maybe, because they do. You can get threat off the enemies. On some of them would fire down range and stuff like that. So I don't know. Maybe I kind of wonder if you get flooded out with too many enemies. It might be a problem, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't even remember if too much changes. I know the setup is a little different, I believe, but yeah, we'll have to try it.
Yeah.
So anyway, final thoughts.
Good time.
Yeah, if you haven't tried it, definitely get it.
Yeah, at least try it.
Yeah. Anyway, that was the battle at Kemble's Crusade.
Cascade.
Cascade.